Okay, and we're live. Welcome back to the Wake and Alive podcast. I'm your host, Mike DeCroche, with my co-host, Mark Smith, and we have today on the episode with us William King. Just before we get started, just a couple reminders. Please check out our new website we recently launched last week, IamAwakeandAlive.com. On the site, we have some workout apparel and some basic nutritional supplements, everything you need just to form a solid foundation for your health. You can use the promo code IamAwake20 for 20% off everything in the store. We're also just a reminder to keep a lookout. We are going to launch an online workout portal that will feature multiple unconventional and conventional programs created by Mark. It's going to be really awesome. It'll guide you step by step, day by day through the programs, and also for each exercise, Mark has recorded a video tutorial of every exercise in there. So it's really awesome. We hope to have that up shortly, so please go to the site, subscribe. We will send out updates as soon as it's available. But with that, I will turn it over to Mark to introduce this week's guest.
All right, so with us today we have William King. William is actually a friend of mine. We've known each other for about 4 years now, and he lives not too far away from me, a couple towns over, but he has a house here in Wilmington, so we get together every now and then. William is a lifelong entrepreneur and expert in wellness and longevity, and he has founded numerous businesses that were eventually acquired by both public and private companies, so kind of the dream of build a company, sell a company. He's held titles and executive positions including founder and CEO of 900 Solutions Incorporated, President and CEO of Voice and Tell of Austin, and founder of Akia LLC. And that's actually how I met him, through Akia. It's a nutritional supplement. We're going to dive into that a little later on. What else do we have here? So he created the Fast Blast in 2016. That's pretty cool. It's a revolutionary weight loss system that incorporates intermittent fasting with nutrient-dense delivery. We'll definitely cover that because that's just interesting. He's a former professional musician. His hobbies are boating, snowboarding, and holds a black belt in Taekwondo. His wife is Annette. They've been married for 24 years, and they live in Raleigh with their son, Liam. And also wanted to... I tell you what, we'll get into his personal history, what got him on the path to wellness here a little bit later. But without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce William King to the show, a friend of mine, a business mentor, and an all-around great guy that knows a ton about nutrition and fasting. So we're gonna cover that. We're gonna cover some entrepreneur stuff today. William, welcome to the show.
Man, I really appreciate that, Mark. Good to be with you, buddy. And like Mark said, we're really good friends. I've known Mark for quite a while, and a huge fan of what these guys are doing. A huge fan of Mark's, and love to see those exercise videos that you've created recently.
Yeah, that's been a lot of work, but fun. It's actually funny when we're doing them. My dad's been filming them, and I'll pretty much film an entire program in one session, and that's about 30 videos each time. Each one's about a minute to a minute and a half. And my dad's been impressed that I'm able to talk and still give instruction during these things. So I film them back to back to back to back, and I'm usually feeling it pretty hard by the next day. That I basically did a month worth of program in a single day, and they're pretty challenging. We start with very doable, achievable exercise, and then we progress you forward. And I just did a level 3 one Saturday, and it took me a little bit to get over that one. But yeah, they're fun. They're tough, and I think people are really going to enjoy it and benefit from the program. And that's sort of our goal, is to be able to reach the whole world with this site and get people engaged. I've always found it kind of trapped in this Wilmington market, and wanted to have a more global vision for what I do. And Mike asked me to come on board with this project, and My role primarily became the program writing the workout programs and video the exercises, and then Mike is the technological wizard behind it, and then we've got Mark DeGrasse on our team, who is a marketing and creative arts genius. He's really got the system dialed in, and the website looks great. He's done fantastic work in a short amount of time. So yeah, I mean, definitely. You and I talked, in early April, I think it was, right? You were down here, and we grabbed a smoothie and acai bowl over there, and I think that was early April. I don't even know if I'd done the first podcast with Awaken Alive, but I mentioned Awaken Alive, that it was something I was being a part of and writing some articles for, and then here we are in July, and it's this whole vision, like we're chasing our dream to be business owners.
Yeah, very cool. I remember the conversation well, and everything looks great. I love the products, and I was looking at the website. It looks fantastic, and I'm a big fan of your work, and so I'd like to see those videos. But I just love what you guys are up to.
Well, now, William, did you guys start out? Were you a client of Mark's to start out? How did you guys meet?
So we met years ago. I had my company Akia, which is basically we developed a nutritional product that was based on the diets of the healthiest people on earth. So there are these places that are called longevity hotspots or blue zones, and I was down in Costa Rica a few years ago on a business trip, and I learned that particular area is a longevity hotspot. A friend of mine lived there, and he was telling me about it. And the more I studied about these places and talked to some authors of books that have come out and got to know more, the more I learned about it, the more I felt like we could design a product based on their diets. And one of the big things that jumped out in the research is all of these longevity hotspots all over the world. There's 8 or 9 that have been highly researched and identified by scientists that are confirmed, they're real. They've checked their birth records, and typically these people live about a decade longer.
Can you name a couple of those?
What's that?
Can you name a couple of those for our listeners? So a couple of these hotspots.
Yeah. There's one in Costa Rica is the first one. I was where I discovered. My buddy lived there, and it was my first introduction into it. There's Okinawa, Japan. There's Capua Mele. There's Sardinia, Italy. Actually, a buddy of mine's in Sardinia right now. The one is in Loma Linda, California. It's the Seventh-day Adventist, and it's funny because most of these places are in mountainous, remote, very beautiful tropical areas. But we identified one as Loma Linda because these people are Seventh-day Adventists, and they really do practice almost all of the same principles and eat in a very similar way as they do in these hot spots, which is basically a plant-based diet. None of them are vegetarians, but they eat much less meat than we do here, and it's clean. They don't have antibiotics and growth hormones and all that in their meat, so it's clean meat. A lot of fruits and vegetables, clean diet, but they do a lot of things that you promote, Mark, which is they get outside and they're out doing things. They're chasing their grandkids around. They're tending their garden. They're climbing up the hill. They have to go for water, so they have to go up the hill or down the hill. And they're doing real things that real people do. And they're extraordinarily healthy. But one of the things that we base our product on is fermentation. We found that in all of these areas, they include a fermented food in almost every meal. And here in the States, about 50 years ago, when we got modern refrigeration and chemical preservatives, I don't know if you guys are old enough. Mark's a little younger than I am, but I remember my grandparents would always put food away for the winter, and this was a fermentation process, and that just went away. We don't do that anymore in our culture.
By fermenting, do you mean canning or like pickling? Is that what you mean by that?
Exactly. And so with these hot spots, it could be totally different foods. I mean, in some of the places, it could be kimchi and miso and sauerkraut. Some are yogurt, some are tempeh, and it's all olives and things. And pickles. So it can vary drastically from the various hotspots depending on where they are throughout the world. But they all use fermented foods, and the process of fermentation begins to break down the nutrition and makes it more utilizable by the body, and it actually creates secondary metabolites. So it actually makes the food more nutritious. So it's it's a pretty profound thing, and we really based our product on this. And we're actually coming out. The company that bought my company had some problems, and that product actually changed, and it's not really recognizable as the same product anymore. So we're actually coming back out next month with a formula that's very similar to the one Mark would remember years ago that we had. It's going to be certified organic. It's tons of fruits and vegetables and herbs and probiotics, enzymes, and it's USDA organic. And the fermented fruits and vegetables and herbs is a big deal because it's just not something we get in our diets these days.
Well, and just a little bit on me for as kind of a background into my journey and with supplements and experience with supplements. It kind of goes way back. When I was 15 years old, my parents managed a gym, and this is in the late 90s. So a lot of supplements were coming out, and I had the unfortunate unofficial title of being the supplement tester. And this stuff would come through, and I would taste stuff that was like eating particle board or something that was just all full of sugars and kind of nothing under the sun that I didn't taste during that time period as far as supplements go. And this is everything from protein to pre-workout to post-workout, all this stuff. And then going through college, I sort of did the supplement, kind of bought into the, you need a stack for this and a stack for that. A lot of what the bodybuilding, L-arginine, your creatine, all that stuff, and great things when used properly, for sure. And then as I sort of evolved, I started looking, and I remember there was a product out there that I'd seen in a magazine, and I think it was called Warrior Food or something like that. I don't remember exactly. And I looked at it, and it came across as a multivitamin before a multivitamin becomes a vitamin. So meaning it was like there was a lot of plants in it, vegetables and fruits, and there were some superfoods like mangosteen and goji berry was in this product. And I was like, oh man, that looks kind of cool. And I was just reading the ad and said, oh, that looks like something I could use to fill in some gaps, because when I was this was my early 20s, I didn't exactly have a lot of money for fresh fruit and vegetables, just I was just getting started out. And so I thought, well, this might help out, but I never found the actual product that was in this ad. I looked all over for it and couldn't find a store that carried it. And this is before I even knew that Amazon was the thing. You can get everything online. I was kind of slow to the technology world. And then I remember, again, I kept progressing, and I kept getting more to this holistic approach towards fitness, moving away from a bodybuilding thing to a more unconventional, really talking about trying to get outside more. And I came across Kia, the original product you're talking about, at a table, and I looked at it, and I knew, nobody even told me about it. I just looked at the back of the can. I saw what was in there. I saw these stars, and then I saw that meant that product was fermented, and that product was organic, and it just, like, holding the can for the first time, I was like, this is what I've been looking for the last several years. And so I jumped on board right away with it as a good product. And didn't know how good the product was till I started using it. And then my clients were using it, and to amazing results. And William, you probably got 1,000 testimonials and stories, but speaking from experience, it helped clear my sinuses up, got rid of some allergy problems I've been dealing with. Sleep was better, recovery was better, mental clarity was better. Clients of mine that had blood sugar issues, I saw their A1Cs go down. I saw blood pressure numbers change for people, and cholesterol numbers change. It was just amazing, and people kept saying, well, what is it? And I was like, it's food. And I thought that was the beautiful thing about this product. It was real food. It was just been, basically powderized after it was dried out. And so I thought that was really cool, and I was, sad to see the product go away after the buyout, but I'm really excited that you got something else coming out like that, and looking forward to using that. But Maybe you could share a little bit why the fermentation work, why that makes a superfood product like that so much different than maybe like a raw vegetable thing. Maybe the thing like a GNC that just tastes like yard clippings and kind of smells like grass. Like what makes it different than those? Why does it work? Why do you feel better almost immediately taking it?
It's funny. You said a lot of things there that triggered a lot of stuff for me. But one of the things is
I
you're
should have given a
exactly
trigger
right.
warning. I'm sorry.
What's that?
I should have given a trigger warning. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but when we were in the process of developing this product, I had had a challenge, health challenge years and years ago, and I've tried just about everything. I've done every fasting regimen, any product that's on the market, I've tried them, and I've had some success doing various things, but I've never really taken a product where you really have a measurable impact. And so I never expected that when we were developing this product. But you're right, Mark. I mean, all the things that you were described, I've heard 1,000 times. And that to me is one of the most amazing things. But I attribute that a lot to the fermentation. I mean, we've got, we use nothing but whole foods. It's all organic. Tons of fruits and vegetables, and it's a variety. And there really hasn't been that much of study on variety in the diet, but the variety is important. In the U.S., we tend to eat the same foods over and over. And if anyone's listening to this who has kids, for goodness sake, get something other than French fries, hamburgers, mac and cheese, or chicken fingers. We need variety. And so I think that's one of the impacts we see. But clearly the fermentation is a big deal, and the more I've learned about it, I mean, we've dealt with multiple scientists about that. I met with a guy here who's one of the who's at NC State here, who's one of the foremost experts on fermentation in the world, and so I've learned a lot about it. But to break it down to to the simplest terms, it really does begin to break nutrition down, so it makes it easier for the body to digest. It's sort of like pre-digesting it, because the process actually breaks down the food into smaller constituent parts, and so it's really much easier to digest. When we have yoga, I remember a lot of yoga instructors love to use it because you can actually eat it before class. And they would always tell you never eat before like a hot yoga class because that'd be a problem. But with this product, people could always do it because it just goes straight to the cells without very, very minimal digestion. But it also creates nutrition that wasn't there before. I know there was a study done on folate that increases the folate in the nutrition by several 100%. Just the process of fermentation. So it really does, it enhances the nutritional value, and it makes it much easier to digest. So it's a big deal, and we're excited to be getting it back on the market here in the next few weeks.
William, I had a question for you. So does the fermentation process reduce the body's need to produce digestive enzymes, or lower? Because you hear that a lot of people have pancreatic problems or something because we're just overeating or eating just garbage food, so our body has to work overdrive to break it down. Does this help with that?
It does, just because it's much easier on the digestive process. I mean, there's so many, what I like to refer to as non-foods that we're eating these days. The body really, a lot of the foods, the packaged foods and fast foods that we eat, the body was never designed to consume those, and so the body really has to work hard and produce those enzymes. And it's really good if you're on a terrible diet. It's really good to take a digestive enzyme with every meal, really. But yeah, absolutely. This particular product, because because the vast majority of the product, some ingredients they're not you don't. Fermentation works very well for fruits and vegetables and herbs, but not all ingredients. but the vast majority of our ingredients for fermentation, the ones that aren't ones that are typically meant to be fermented. But yeah, it breaks it down where your body just it doesn't require a lot of digestive process, enzymes, and whatnot to assimilate. It's really nutrition that goes straight to the cells.
So to sort of, in a sentence, put a working definition or a working summary of fermentation, it makes digestion easier, and it highlights the nutritional value of food. Would you agree with that?
Yes, it literally increases the nutrient value. It literally increases some of the nutrient components, literally. And at the same time, it makes it easier to digest, which is, you can eat all the good foods if you want to, but most people in the U.S. they eat such a bad diet for such a long period of time, but all of our digestive tracts have been compromised. We're taking antibiotics. We're getting antibiotics in our milk, in our foods, in our cheese, in our meats, in our water. There's tons of pharmaceutical residues in water now. I mean, all of these chemicals are killing our probiotics and just really causing harm to our digestive tract. So everybody has compromised digestive tract. So anything you can do to help with digestion is good. And so these foods are super easy to digest. And so the nutrients is actually getting to your cells where you might eat something, a cheeseburger or something from McDonald's or whatever, that people typically eat. Number one, the nutrient value isn't there to begin with, and it's not getting to the cells because our digestive tracts have been compromised because of all these different. It's just bombarded with all the different chemicals and the poor quality nutrition that we're taking in.
Yeah, I think even on one of our episodes we interviewed Jim Romig from Internal Roots Movement, and he even made the comment, that we drink chlorinated water, and people don't realize that chlorine goes through your digestive tract and basically sterilizes it the whole way through.
It's poison. It's poison. Yep.
I remember reading a study on, and I forget, it was a small hunting and gathering tribe that still exists in Africa. And I don't remember the exact number, but I think it was something outrageous, like they had 300 times the flora in their microbes, microbiomes that we had. And what was even more interesting is it actually differed per role within the tribe. So the women that were more back at camp, theirs was different for... One of the reasons was they ate this particular root much more higher volume. It was a root they cooked with a lot, and they would snack on it as they were cooking. And so because of this root they were eating, it was producing a certain type of bacteria that they had in higher concentration than the men who were out hunting. They would a lot of times snack on the way back. They would eat just meat from the kill, fresh. And it was interesting that you were talking about variety, that the varieties, the different variety that they had because of the roles that they played. I found it to be fascinating that there was almost a specification within that variety that what each gut was doing, because the gut had now formed a role for what was needed to digest what they were eating. And I found it fascinating. I tried to go back and try to find that study. Maybe we can link it up to the website or something. It is really cool when talking about gut health.
Yeah, there's a study out there of an indigenous population somewhere. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was said that they had 10 times the amount of probiotics in their digestive tract than the typical person in the U.S. 10 times. So it's vastly different, and that's similar to what we see in the longevity hotspots compared to here. We just really bombard our digestive tract, our gut flora, our microbiome with poisons and toxins through our food, through our water, all kinds of ways that you don't even think about. Like I said, pharmaceutical residues in water, pharmaceutical residues in cattle. Our bugs are having a tough time. to be honest, is just a reality of it.
you got a pretty fascinating story. We're kind of moving forward to the topic of cleansing, which, well, I guess we can talk about your concept of the fast blast within this. But so you mentioned earlier in the show that you were sick at one time, and I know from your bio and from talking to you that you were like really, really sick. So tell us about that and how you got better, because I think people need to hear this story. People need to realize that there's other alternatives to healing than just taking a bunch of medicine. So go for it.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a long story, but I won't bore you with all the details. But basically, I had a really bad accident. I broke my pelvis. I actually broke a bone called the ischium,
Bless you.
and I couldn't walk for a period of time. It was about a year before I could walk unassisted. Long rehab and all that. And even when I could walk again, I was on some pretty heavy duty medication. And at that time in my life, I knew nothing about nutrition or cleansing or fasting or anything. I mean, I just went to the doctor and did what the guy said. And I was going to the best doctors in the world. I won't name them, but I lived 20 minutes from the city of Medicine, so you can probably figure out where I was going. And so I was going to the best specialists in the world, and I was doing exactly what they told me to do. And I was on these pain meds. I started with Motrin, and then I went to steroids for pain and mind-altering drugs for pain. And anytime you take a med, you also take 2 or 3 other meds to offset the side effects of the one med, right? So all of a sudden I was on a cocktail, 5, 6, 7 medications a day. And over a period of years, 2, 3, 4 years, it just destroyed my health. I mean, I got to the point I was sick all the time. I was constantly on antibiotics. I had chronic dry eyes, chronic dry skin, chronic migraines. I was sleeping 13 hours a day. I was 20 pounds overweight. I couldn't do everything. I could not lose weight. I mean, I was in a really, really bad place, and I couldn't get well, and I did exactly what the doctors told me to do, and I got worse and worse and worse and worse. And I just didn't, I was kind of losing hope, and I was introduced to the concept of, good nutrition, and that the body heals itself if you just give the right nutrition, and fasting and detoxing and that sort of thing. And it was some of the craziest stuff I'd ever heard in my life. I thought these people were from another planet, but I said, you know what, I don't have anything to lose here. I'm doing exactly what I'm told to do by the absolute best specialist in the world, and it's basically killing me. And so I said, okay, I'm just going full turkey on this thing. I went off all my meds. I started doing all sorts of cleansing and fasting, changed my diet, and doing all these things. And it didn't happen overnight. There were some good signs that happened pretty quickly, but it took years for me to restore my health and to get things, all these different chronic diseases start dissipating and going away and going away completely. It took some time, but I was able to do it, totally drug-free. I hadn't taken any, I don't take an aspirin or anything. I haven't taken any drugs for, I can't, years and years and years. And at a time in my life where, I'm in my 50s now, where most people say, okay, you're going to start on a statin, your blood pressure is going to be higher, you're going to be on these drugs. I don't take anything. My levels are better than they've ever been. They were better than they were when I was in my 20s. And it's just nutrition. It's just good nutrition and just taking care of myself. And I do fast. I've done all kinds of fasting regimens. I've done juicing. I've done straight water fast. And a few years ago, this concept of intermittent fasting really started gaining in popularity. And right now, you can look. A lot of people have heard of the FAST diet, the 8-hour diet, the 5-2 diet. Eat, stop, eat. There's a lot of these different diets out there. And in about 3 months, 2 or 3 months, we're going to have a product that's going to be the first product that actually supports intermittent fasting. And what you'll do is you'll just take 2 days a week, and you'll take this product 6 times a day. It's going to have a really nice balance of healthy. It's all organic, USDA certified organic. It's going to have a nice balance of proteins, fats, carbs, fiber, to satiate you and really help you feel as full as you can and keep your calories under 600 or 700 calories. It's going to come in a squeeze pack, so it's going to be super convenient. We're really excited about it. It's the first product ever that supports, specifically designed to support intermittent fasting. And we've done some trials with it. Typically, people lose 5 or 6 pounds per week on those 2 days, and they can eat anything they want the rest of the time. We always encourage people to eat as healthy as possible, but you can lose 4, 5, 6 pounds on that 2 day a week intermittent fast, and over time, you can get to where whatever your ideal weight is, and you can just dial it back to 1 day a week or a couple of days a month or whatever suits you at that point. But that's something we're really excited about, and it really is good for overall health, and it's great for weight loss.
William, when you say intermittent fasting, so what kind of eating period versus resting period do you normally recommend people do? Because I've been intermittent fasting for a while, and typically what I try to do most days is we eat dinner between 6, 7:30, and then I try not to eat again until 9:30 or 10 in the morning, and just try to push breakfast back a few hours instead of eating it around 6 or 7 when I get to work.
Yep. So that's great policy, and that was something I was actually taught in the first clinic I ever took way back when I turned my health around. They told me that they explained that the body is either digesting or cleansing at all times, and it can't do both at once. And if you ever had we've all had the big Thanksgiving meal, right? You have the big meal, and then you go to the couch and you sleep. It's because your body. Yeah, exactly. And it just takes a lot of energy to digest. So anytime you're resting your digestive tract, the body does good things. It's really good. It's doing a lot of good restorative work. And so when you're taking the time like that, that 10, 12, 14 hours that you're allowing the body, you're not taking any nutrition. You're allowing the body to heal and refresh itself. That's good, and that's a great policy. That's something that I've been doing for years, and I highly recommend. What we're doing with this particular product is it's a different type of intermittent fast. So basically, we take your calories down to under 700 calories for 2 days a week. The product is specifically designed to digest very quickly. So you're actually going into that. I don't know if you're familiar with autophagy, when your cells are actually cleaning themselves, but you're actually going into that state very quickly because this product is designed to be absorbed and digested very quickly. But the way we're doing it is really specifically for weight loss. So we put an emphasis on taking your calories down to under 700 calories for 2 days a week. But we definitely encourage people to take that time, like you're talking about. We see in the longevity hotspots, they typically take their last meal about 5 or 6 o'clock in the day, and they don't eat anything until 7, 8 o'clock the next morning. And that gives the body a good resting period every single day to do that restorative work, to do the cleansing, to do the restoration that it needs to do so you're refreshed and you're ready to go again. I wrote a book a few years ago. We're going to actually come out with it at some point. I don't know when, but I studied it. I found a study in that book that showed that just over the last 10 years, the window of time in which the typical American eats each day increased by 3 hours, and that's bad. It needs to decrease, not increase. So people a lot of times are working late. They're working at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. They come home, they're eating, and by the time they finish digesting that meal, it's 3 or 4 in the morning. They wake up at 6 o'clock, and they go ahead and they're starting to eat again. They only have just a very small window each day where the body is able to do that restorative work. Where what you're talking about, you have 6, 8, 10 hours, depending on how long that last meal takes to digest. But you're giving your body a good window of opportunity to do that restorative work, and it's very, very important. And the studies are very, very solid on this. They're coming out all the time, and it's really, really strong. I mean, some of these studies are showing that people can. And I don't recommend this at all. Okay, I'm a huge advocate. Mark could tell you, I walk the walk. I'm a huge advocate of eating a lot of fresh, really good, wholesome, organic, fruits, vegetables, that sort of thing. But the studies show that people can eat the junk they're accustomed to eating. They can keep eating that, but if they take 2 days a week and they allow the body to rest and keep the calories under 700 calories, all kinds of great things happen. Blood pressure goes down, blood sugar goes down, weight goes down, digestive issues heal. The body does good things when we allow it to. We just get out of the way and let it do its thing.
So
Yeah,
I
the worst.
actually, go ahead, Mark. Okay,
Oh, I was just going to say the worst people that I don't want to say people. I don't want to make a negative connotation, but the worst subculture of eating is like the bodybuilding. And Mark and I try to, I guess one of the things is try to help people rethink that, because their philosophy is you need to be eating constantly every
Right.
2 to 3 hours, and they never give their body a break ever.
Right.
It's basically all the way up until they go to bed. You've pretty much eaten and digested.
yeah, I used to sell people on that when I was in sales for training. We had this diagram we draw up for people, and it was like you need to eat every five to six times a day, every 2 to 3 hours, because that keeps the metabolism going. And when I walked away from that job, I was like, God, that was such horseshit I was spending people. But it's what I was doing at the time and everything. But yeah, so I actually by lifestyle I've ended up I essentially eat twice a day. And I ate this morning around 9:30, and I still haven't eaten again. And I'll eat after this podcast, and then I won't eat again until 9 or 10 tomorrow, and then it'll probably be like 8:30, 9 o'clock tomorrow night. Like that's just how I eat all the time now. And it started when I was like, because my schedule was I would be at work early in the morning, and I never liked waking up and eating right away. Like, one, I'd rather grab 10 more minutes of sleep if I can, and two, I know I'm going to have a break after the first few clients in the morning, so why not be able to take time to cook a meal, instead of trying to rush something at 5 a.m. in the morning. So over the years of being a trainer, I sort of fell in this pattern of I have a mid-morning break, and I would be able to cook and eat a breakfast then, and then I get home, after 8 usually, and I would eat then. So I just eat like that. And then other thing I was going to add is I've actually guinea pigged exactly what William's talking about, guys. I did the IKEA Blast thing multiple times, and it's amazing how good you feel when your body has some nutrition, but it's able to hit like a system restart. And I had clients lose lots of healthy weight and keep it off, and enjoy the process of just taking 2 days a week to just sort of dial it in and let the body restore. And I think it helped a lot of people with headaches too. People that got caffeine headaches and stuff like that. I saw that as a really positive outcome from it too. I think people get. I mean, I get headaches too sometimes, but I think I talked to at least one person today that has a headache. They just mentioned it, like, oh, I got a headache, and there's lots of reasons that cause that, but I noticed that when people were doing this, that they didn't have headaches.
Yep.
So, William, what kind of when you talk to fermenting, do you ever get any pushback from raw foodists who are very adamant that things are consumed like almost directly from being picked? I know there's a lot of people out there that that say that food loses its life force and begins to, farther it is from being picked, the more broken down it is, and they almost make breaking down seem like it's a bad thing, almost the opposite of what you're saying.
Yeah, so that's a great question, and it's one that I'm really familiar with, because I've gone long periods of time where I've only eaten raw food. So I'm a huge fan of raw food. But what I've learned over the years, and I actually learned this probably more than anybody from Sally Bear, who wrote 50 Secrets of the World's Longest Living People. She's on our Science Advisory Board. There are a lot of foods. I think tomatoes is a good example, where when you actually add heat to it, it actually increases the lycopene in the tomatoes. And it's not just tomatoes. There's tons of different foods. When you do heat it, it enhances some of the nutrition. And there are also foods that you really can't break down the outer shell of the fruit or vegetable unless you heat it. So I'm a big fan of raw food, but I would just say this. I would say it's all about balance. So I eat a lot of raw food. In fact, I would say my diet is probably around 70% raw now. And like I said, many times it's been 100%. So I'm a huge fan of raw foods. I think people need to eat a lot of raw foods, but you need to balance that depending on the raw food. You need to balance it with cooked food, and then fermentation is just a totally different animal. It's a way that you've processed the food to make it more digestible and more nutritious. And it's just something else to put in the tool chest, that you have at your, you have in your arsenal, that increases your health. So I don't think it's one or the other. I think you need tons of raw food. I think you need to work fermented foods into your diet, and I think you need to have cooked foods into your diet as well. And I've been vegetarian and vegan at times, but one thing I would say in all of my studies over the years, and especially studying these hot spots, like I said, there's no longevity, long-lived culture in the world that are vegan, okay, or vegetarian. They all eat meat, and I do believe that it is important as humans to consume some meat. But in the hot spots, they have meat as a condiment. They have meat a couple times a week. They don't have it 3 times a day like we do in the United States. So it's about balance when it comes to meat, when it comes to raw food, when it comes to cooked food, when it comes to fermented food. It's all about balance. You don't need to live off any of them, but you need to have a balance of all of them. That's my belief anyway.
And before the show started, Mark, this is right before you jumped on. William and I were talking about how certain types of vegetables, a lot of greens powders are full of broccoli, Brussels sprouts, red and green cabbage, and I was telling Williams that I get a lot of heartburn and gas from those. William, was your product, or would fermentation sort of break that down and get rid of that gas that's produced by those vegetables?
Well, for sure, and especially those cruciferous vegetables. I can't think of any specifically any research I can quote you off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure you're going to be better off if you cook those. But they are a little bit tricky to digest, especially depending on the person. But like I said before, in our product we selected specific fruits and vegetables and herbs that are known to do really well with fermentation. But not all foods do well with fermentation. But the cruciferous vegetables in raw form, I don't know. I don't want to speak out. I just don't know. I don't have a lot of knowledge of that. But I would suspect that if you're having trouble with that product, the things that I would suspect are the cruciferous vegetables. Or any grass, wheatgrass or any grasses, alfalfa grass, any grasses that are in there, I would be suspicious of those. I wouldn't worry about the chlorella or the spirulina so much, or the fruits and vegetables, but the cruciferous vegetables, the grasses are the ones that I would kind of watch. And if you could play around, if you could isolate those and maybe take in the others and just play with it and see if you see a difference. I'll bet you if you eliminate those two, I think you do fine with the algae products and the fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've noticed that the cheaper greens powders are usually full of those real common cruciferous vegetables, and those are the ones that I've typically had problems with, and I know other people have complained that they give them the same similar, almost like the broccoli burps, if you want to call them. They can taste it. And then other, I don't know if more expensive or higher quality products that have higher concentrations of spirulina, chlorella, those are a little bit softer on the stomach.
I worry about raw cruciferous vegetables. I would cook those, but cruciferous vegetables are very anti-carcinogenic. They're really good for a lot of things. So I'm a big fan. I had Brussels sprouts today. I love broccoli. Big fan of cabbage. But in raw form, I would suspect that could be hard on the digestive tract.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not telling anybody not to eat broccoli or cabbage. By the way.
Right. Well, there's so high in fiber also that it takes an enormous amount of energy to break down. Rather than rather than getting energy, you're using a lot of energy. So cooking it makes it easier to digest.
Yep,
Even the chewing process is much easier. It's easier to chew. You're not, burning up calories
for sure.
chewing that. So anyway, William, we've got about 10 more minutes here. I wanted to spend a little bit more time on this, but let's switch gears now from the nutrition side of things. And one thing that our website offers to a lot of people is just trying to get people, like I said, to wake up. If they're in a state of complacency and a life of mediocrity, we want them to wake up and get the most out of life. That's the whole reason we're doing this, is we want people to have a life to the fullest. And part of that, we think, is chasing your own dreams and going after your goals. And I can't think of a better person to ask to speak on that than a lifelong entrepreneur, a very successful serial entrepreneur like yourself. So if you want to spend the last 10 minutes here and just talk about what it's like being an entrepreneur for you, financial freedom, life freedom, being able to spend time with your family, and all these things that are the perks of being an entrepreneur. But talk about that, and maybe we can motivate some people to take the step and maybe pursue an idea they've had for a while.
Yeah, man, that's a big one for me. I think all my life is something that's been in me and something I wanted to do. I would say that one of the most rewarding things for me in my life, and I'm in my 50s now. One of the things I'm most proud of is that I was able to spend an enormous amount of time with my son when he's grown up. He's 20 now. He's in college, and but a lot of people want to go to every basketball game or every sporting event. I went to every practice. I went to everything. So that's one of the things I really feel like I've been blessed with, and I'm really proud of. Here's the thing though. I don't think that being an entrepreneur is for everyone.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, I really don't. It's for me for sure. I'm a huge advocate. I'm a big fan of free enterprise and the ability to build your own business, and I just wouldn't have it any other way. It's definitely for me. Huge advocate. Not sure it's for everyone though. So, some people, their thing is, my mother's thing was teaching. She was a teacher. And some people, their thing is being a nurse or a doctor or whatever it is. So, but I think finding that thing is what is so important. But I will say this: as an entrepreneur, there is one thing I've experienced is I was an entrepreneur, I guess, for 18, 20 years, for a long time, and I had a basically a direct response advertising business. I had a voice messaging business. I had an internet-based. We did search engine optimization and web design and hosting and things early days of the internet. And so those businesses, did well for me, and I enjoyed them, loved them. Huge, just couldn't have been happier. But when I started the last company, Akia, and what I'm doing now with our new company, the Nutra Company. I saw that we impact people's lives, and I saw that I could change my life by changing my nutrition and doing some certain things with nutrition and staying away from the toxicity and getting rid of the toxicity and that sort of thing. And when you know that you can have that type of impact, and you can help people have that impact, whether it be with a product or like with what you're doing, Mark, with you're physically helping people. When you see the impact that it has on their lives, I mean, it's a totally different thing altogether. So, the first almost 2 decades that I was an entrepreneur, I had a great time, loved it, huge advocate of it, and it afforded me to do things, to spend time with my son and family and wife. But when you really can actually help people with the most important thing, which is our health. Right, that's the most important, most valuable asset we all have. Yep. When you can help people improve that, change that, turn that around for the better, there's just, for me, there's just nothing like it. So, I'm that's just, to me, that's just what I'm going to do. One way or the other. That's what I'm always going to do. There's a lot of things I could be doing, but that's how I'm going to spend my time, because that's what I feel like I should be doing. But yeah, I'm a huge fan. It's funny. Years ago, one of my business partners was leaving his job. He and I had started the company together, and he was working at a big company, big pharmaceutical company, and had a great job. And he was leaving his job we were going to go full time, and that was over 20 years ago, and he hasn't gone back to his job just yet. You actually know Scott, Mark. You know Scott.
Yeah, I knew that's who. Actually knew that's exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so Scott was leaving his job. Had a great job in a big company out of the park, and everybody was like, "Well, what are you going to do with your health insurance? How are you going to get health insurance?" And it's like, this is what you're thinking about. I mean, people are so steeped and so they're so much in the matrix, right? They're so much in the matrix they can't see outside of the matrix. You get back and you go out and get health insurance. It's
well,
at that time I think it was costing me $60 a month or something. You get freaking health insurance. So but to break out of that mindset for some people is a struggle. And it's scary. When I first left, I left a job. I was making a lot of money. I was doing really, really well. I was in my 20s, but for a kid, I was in his 20s, I was doing really well. And to leave the job, to leave the security, it was scary. But man, being on this side of it, it just seems, come on, you left there, you went there looking for a job. You left there looking for, you can always get a job. So I would say if there's anything that someone wants to do and they're passionate about, I would say by all means give it a shot, man. And you can always get a job again, somewhere else. But again, having said that, it's not for everybody. If you like what you're doing, great. Keep doing it and do the best job you can. People have to find happiness in what they're doing, and there's many ways to do that outside of being an entrepreneur. But for me, that's what I have to do.
Well, it's like you said. It's life's really about being able to spend time with your family. You only get one shot at it. Man. If you got a family, make sure you can spend time with them, and then to top it off, you've chosen a path that includes helping other people better their lives. And I think that's the ultimate fulfillment, knowing that the thing that you're passionate about helps other people. And it can be anything. Like you said, a teacher, a nurse, police officer, it's a service. These are great jobs that we need, and I think people do love being those things.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest, people don't go to be a teacher for the money. They do it because they want to teach and they want to make a difference. They want to impact people.
Sure. And Mark, William, one of the things, I'm glad that you mentioned the Matrix, because I think the awake part of Awake and Alive for Mark and I is really exposing people to individuals like you and to ideas. And it's not necessarily you need to quit your job or that having a corporate job or being a normal guy is wrong, but just opening your mind to new ideas, fasting, cleansing, maybe not regurgitating and being a zombie and just repeating everything you see on TV and that your politicians tell you. Because there's so much to learn, and there's a lot of benefits from just opening your mind to living differently.
Absolutely, man. There's so much out there that's totally wrong. That's totally accepted by the mainstream. That's absolutely 100% couldn't be more wrong. So absolutely opening your mind and just doing the research yourself, talking to people, learning. 100%, because so many people are in the matrix, they just can't see outside of it. They're bombarded with it. Money drives everything. Hey, I'm a capitalist. I love the capitalism system. I'm a big fan. I'm unabashed capitalist. But money drives everything, and it's not always for the good.
True.
I'll leave you with this. My dad shared a meme today. It was a picture of a doctor, and the meme said, "And now for my next trick, I'll take your minor lower back pain and give you a lifelong opiate addiction."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was pretty funny. But you're right. And that's kind of hard hitting, driving the final point home that that's one of those accepted truths. It's not true. People's like, oh, I got back pain. I need a painkiller. Really, what you need is maybe lose a little bit of weight, maybe an adjustment, and maybe to move. Well, not maybe, but you definitely need to move more.
Yep.
Most back issues are just from sitting.
Well, no, you're up
90%
against
of
the. Sorry, Mark. William, you're up against the big sacred cow of breakfast is the most important meal of the day. So, you know, like when people ask why I don't eat breakfast or why I fast, they always go to oh my God, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You're going to compromise your health. And they have a hard time understanding that, no, this is actually one of the easiest things you can do to improve your health. But they're so ingrained with, by the cereal industry and the bagel industry and you name it, the people purveyors of breakfast that you have to eat as soon as you wake up or you're going to, go into a coma and die.
Totally money driven. Totally money driven. It's all false. I mean, we could do hours and hours on just that. I'm telling you, there's so many things that just couldn't be more wrong. Absolutely 100% wrong that we all accept as truth and as scientifically confirmed. It just couldn't be more wrong. Absolutely.
Well, we thank you for your work in trying to help, wake people up.
Absolutely. Great to be with you guys, and hopefully we meet in person sometime.
Perfect. William, stay on the line just a little bit after we sign off. We'll recap a little bit, but thanks again for being on our show. Guys, thanks for listening, and join us next week. I think we've actually got 2 shows next week. We've got one Sunday and one Tuesday, so we've got some exciting guests coming up.
Before we forget, William, where can people learn more about your supplements and follow you and get in touch with you?
Well, we're a little early. We're going to launch the company next month, but right now we have a temporary website at The Nutra Company, TheNutra company.com.
We will make sure that people check that out and learn more.
All right, guys, good to be with you.
Thanks again for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody. All right.